House of Representatives probes lopsided hiring and spending in key agencies. Reps tackle national grid failures, demand answers in 3 weeks. And House orders investigation into rising kidnappings and one-chance scams in Abuja. Hello and welcome to the program. I am Victor Azu. Thank you for joining us. In a bold move, the House of Representatives is launching an investigation into allegations of biased recruitment practices and unapproved spending in several government agencies. Now, lawmakers resolved to set up a special ad hoc committee tasked with digging into the accusations and ensuring accountability. It's a probe that promises to shed light on issues that have long lingered in the shadows.
The resolution was sequel to a motion from Minority Whip Ali Issa, in which he listed Federal Inland Revenue Service, Corporate Affairs Commission, and Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation among agencies allegedly involved in the infraction.
Funds meant for statutory operations being used for non-statutory in gross violations of the Fiscal Responsibility Act. If this allegation of lopsided employment and extra budgetary expenditure are true, the principles of fairness, equity, and transparency are violated.
A bill to amend the TET Fund Act to provide strict conditions for tertiary institutions seeking to access the fund scaled second reading. Also adopted was a motion to remove tertiary institutions from Band A category in electricity consumption.
Call on Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to place public tertiary institutions on the service-based tariffs of Band C, or if there is any band that is lower than Band C.
They're just saying that the universities who have shown capacity, who have shown resilience, who have shown steadfastness, can use their track record to have a better chance.
As long as the fund will not discriminate against new upcoming universities, where the older universities that have shown capacity will drive larger percentage of the fund.
Most institutions have not even met up with some of the stringent conditions, one of which is that until you exhaust the allocations for the current year, you are not entitled to take that of the previous year.
The House passed a resolution seeking rehabilitation of the Zaria-Funtua, Gusau, and Karan Namuda railway line.
Make adequate budgetary provisions for the rehabilitation of Zaria, Funtua, Gusau, Karan Namuda rail lines in the 2025 budgetary estimate.
Lawmakers, however, voted against second reading of a bill to alter the 1999 Constitution to review the description of Islamic law, with advocacy for further consultations on the bill.
And during the last plenary for the week in review, the House also approved a motion to construct police secondary school in Odobon in Ogolua, Surulere Federal Constituency of Oyo State.
The House notes that by the virtue of Section 14(2)(b) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, the welfare of citizens shall be the basic responsibility of the government. Also note that the police secondary school in Odobon, Surulere local government was cited in 2014 by the late Inspector General of Police, Chief Sunday Adewusi, with about 40 acres of land allocated by the community for the construction of the said secondary school. Aware that the site has been fenced off with no construction around the site about a decade ago. They are worried that the area in question was the habitat for wildlife, ultimately posing a security threat to the community residents. Resolve all the Federal Ministry of Police Affairs to ensure the inclusion of the construction of a police secondary school in the 2025 budget estimate. 2. Also mandate the Committee on Police Affairs and legislative compliance to ensure compliance. I so move.
Power supply is the lifeblood of any thriving economy. And recognizing its critical role, the House of Representatives has directed its Committee on Power to delve into the recurring collapses of the national grid with a 3-week deadline. Now, the committee is expected to uncover the root causes and deliver a report that could shape future legislative actions aiming to stabilize the nation's power supply.
This sad development is coming at a time when the Honorable Minister of Power has given assurances to the nation of a stable power sector during the increase in power tariff.
This motion is referred to the Committee on Power for further legislative action.
Bill seeking an increase of revenue allocation percentage for states from federation account based on derivative principle, as well as bill to establish the Nigerian National Honors and Merit Award Commission, scaled second reading.
It will discourage states from overdependence on the federal allocation that comes to their states. A lot of natural resources in the north, in the south, same. There are a lot of natural resources. And Mr. Speaker, these resources have not been fully tapped for the benefit of the federal government and the state. When this law is passed, Mr. Speaker, it will encourage states to go into the full development of these natural resources to the benefit of the state.
We hope and pray that there will be more competence in choosing people, deserving Nigerians, to be given national awards.
A bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal University of Health Science in DAS.
Lawmakers in a motion frowned at the slow pace of construction of the Numan-Jalingo Road and asked Federal Ministry of Works to provide explanation.
The federal government had allocated 3 billion naira to continue the project, attributing the delay to COVID-19, but progress remains slow for over 30 months.
The House adopted a report of its Committee on Health Institutions and a bill for an act to establish Federal Medical Center, Fage, Kano State, to enable easy access to healthcare services.
Well, the House also okayed a matter of urgent public importance brought before it by the member representing Ndokwa in the Federal Constituency of Delta State, Nnamdi Ezechi.
My people have been displaced for the past couple of weeks. Some persons are now homeless. Properties worth millions of naira being destroyed. Farmlands being also destroyed. So I see it as a matter of urgent public importance. Having site order 8 rule 5, which also will involve when critical infrastructure is being affected. School buildings in these communities are also being destroyed by the flood, and our children are no longer going to school. And many youths have rendered homeless. And that is a major reason for the motion. And of course, the motion was drawn by the members. And the Speaker, having seen the motion as very, very urgent and important, the motion was adopted and it referred to the appropriate federal agencies.
A bill for an act to establish the Institute of Leadership, Entrepreneurship and Corporate Governance and for related matters, sponsored by Representative Francis Waive, also scaled second reading.
I was coming in last week from Addis Ababa, and I was just looking at the fleet of the Ethiopian Airlines. It's comparable to anything in the Western world. Rwanda has theirs, Kenya has theirs, South Africa has theirs, Egypt has theirs. Nigeria has none. And then you want to think about how the Nigeria Airways was killed. My conclusion is that leadership is our problem. I'm being privileged by God to be a member of the House of Representatives. I thought I should contribute to developing leadership and good governance. So I thought setting up an institute that will, from school age, begin to teach children values, leadership, good governance, and all of that. I think if we start imbibing it in our people, it would help to change this negative narrative. My thinking is that this institute, when established, there will be Nigerians of like minds who are interested in changing this story, this trajectory of failure, underdevelopment, and in fact, we are going backward. Not just that we are stagnated, we are going backward. So if there's a situation where there can be this value reorientation that can help the situation, and I'm not thinking in terms of government handling it, otherwise the National Orientation Agency will be all right. I'm talking of an institute by private people who are so interested, who buy into this vision and join the institute, so that we could even get to a stage where the institute not only offers membership, can even offer fellowship to Nigerians who have gone through leadership and displayed exemplary leadership qualities and help to push the frontiers of development for our country, that people will know that it is good to be good. And it is better to contribute to national development than to have bank account loaded and now have underground and all your rooms everywhere loaded with money. And the country is stolen money, and the country is in a mess. That's what I want to contribute to changing. And to achieve that, my goal is to set up this institute to help do that. And I want it to be chartered, registered by government. I don't want it to be, it's a quasi situation where it is a private thing run by private people, but yet has the backing of government in terms of being chartered by government.
Meanwhile, alarmed by the surge in kidnappings and armed robbery in the nation's capital, the House of Representatives has tasked its committees on FCT, Police, and National Security and Intelligence with a thorough investigation. The committees are to deliver their findings within 3 weeks, aiming to bring solutions to the security challenges plaguing the city. The House also condemned the resurgence of one-chance taxi scams, urging security agencies to clamp down on unregistered and fraudulent operators to restore safety in Abuja.
In a motion of urgent public importance, Representative Ismail Dabu lamented the death of his legislative aide, Ms. Nima Suleiman, who was brutally murdered on her way home by one-chance taxi operators around Banex Junction in Wuse district of Abuja last Thursday.
Despite paying ransom in full, her life was tragically cut short. Her body was found between the hours of 9 to 10 p.m. at Maitama Ministers Hill Bridge in Abuja. Disturbed that this heinous crime has sent shockwaves through our community, confirming the escalating insecurity in the FCT.
While observing a minute silence for the deceased, the House called on security agencies to clamp down on unregistered and fraudulent taxi operators in order to arrest the menace.
This motion is referred to the committees on FCT, Police, National Security and Intelligence for further legislative action.
The House also condemned the spate of brutal killings in Anambra State.
Over 10 youths were dastardly murdered in Igbo community on the 20th day of October during the celebrations of the New Yam Festival. Send a delegation to Anambra State to hold discussions with the state government and relevant stakeholders on the escalating insecurity in the state.
Several bills scaled second reading.
A bill for an act to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, to create new Oyo State with Oyo Town as the capital city from Oyo State. Effect consequential change of the name of the remaining part of Oyo State to Ibadan State with Ibadan City as the capital city.
To establish
Institute of Leadership, Entrepreneurship, and Corporate Governance, and for related matters.
The House received and adopted the report and recommendations of its ad hoc committee on discrimination against the House of Representatives in the National Honours Award.
There's a need to review the National Honours Act Cap End 43, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004.
We should place apart all other principal officers previously, not only presiding officers, because majority leader of the House or leader of the House and the Senate are normally considered for the same award.
Plenary is one of the most common terms in legislative practice and even beyond. So what does it mean for the Nigerian Parliament? We asked Chair of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Francis Waive, to shed light.
The term plenary refers to the sitting of Parliament, where every elected member ought to be present. And whenever there's plenary and a quorum is formed, the sitting goes on, every elected member has a right to be there. If you are not an elected and sworn-in member, you have no business being there. It's criminal to be there and to speak. So plenary is the General Assembly or sitting of elected and sworn-in members of Parliament. Any particular assembly, when they meet in that large number, it is plenary. But I must distinguish this from Committee of the Whole. When the House moves into the Committee of the Whole, that's when the mace is moved to the lower bracket, and then the members begin to consider clause by clause bills that have been brought back from committee work, and reports from committee work is considered at the Committee of the Whole. But in plenary, general matters are discussed. Motions of urgent public importance, first bills go through first reading, second reading, as the case might be, where they are debated. And then also in plenary, motions on notice are also debated on the floor. Those are the things that take place in plenary, and every elected and sworn-in member of Parliament has the privilege to sit in plenary and to participate. And of course, with the presiding officer in charge of the deliberations.
This week on You and Your Reps, the committee segment turns attention to the House Committee on Reformatory Institutions as its chairman Chinedu Oga weighed in on recent controversies surrounding the Nigerian Correctional Service.
The motion come up in the floor of the House, and the House resolved and mandated Committee on Reformatory Institutions to investigate, and equally Committee on Financial Institutions to investigate the aspect of the financial crime. We do everything possible to visit the scene. We went to Lagos, we went to EFCC where he was arrested and detained and charged to court. Then we move on to the correction centers, where the day he was brought to the correction center was 12th. The record is there. The cell where he was kept from maximum to medium prison. We checked it. And what the correction officers did was that there are so many inmates that have been there for almost about 30 years. And if they are now mix Bobrisky with those inmates, before the following morning, he should be a dead person. One, because he claimed that he's a woman. So many of them will try to do funny things on him. And the correction service, with the power on them, with the controller, they now put him what is called a separate cell inside the correction center, the same building where you have other inmates. And the cell is opposite to where you have other inmates. One, to safeguard him. And that is not against the law. When Bobrisky brought out his family or whosoever bought a seat and gave out to the correction in donation to the churches in the correction, it came up in the Facebook. The controller moved because he started raising eyebrow and transferred him from that correction center to another one, because he's already bringing issue. Why should he donate a seat to the church inside the prison for other inmates? And he was taken to nearby the following correction center in the same Krikri, the medium. That is where he stayed and served his 6-month terms. We visited the cell, we visited the record, and we find out that yes, he really served his term. And he have never crossed that gate to outside. The only right that any inmate have is that someone can visit you by following the protocols. They will bring you to where, inside the prison there, where you will see your visitors. We are giving 4 weeks. We only exhausted 2 weeks. Before the end of the 4 weeks, we will conclude. We are doing everything possible to make sure we do what is right. But we should stop believing more on fake information. Fake information is most of the panic we are having in this country.
And hopefully the Nigerian Correctional Service will overcome recent challenges and embrace true reform. And that's you and your reps. We thank you for keeping us company. I am Victor as well. See you next week.